Hello, it's me, Steady Eddie from the YouTube, and it's the time of the year when we all read a bunch of words on the screen and get very angry at them for their lackluster content. Yes, it's the patch notes. I never really do patch notes videos, but this time I'm channeling my inner is there no one else? Maybe there is someone else and that person is me, and we are going to look over the patch notes and get angry at them. This is the first time I'm looking at them. Maybe we'll be surprised, maybe we'll be happy about what we see, but anyway, I'm not going to go over any new sets that they're adding into the game because they kind of got seen over the weekend. If you want to see what they are, I've linked an article down below in the description, so you can go and check them out, see what they are, see if you like them or not. But in this, we're going to be going straight to the combat and the set changes to sets that are already in the game, any balance changes, any gameplay changes. That's what we're interested in. So let's get into it. The following abilities will now tell you this is just rubbish. This is just bug fixes. Dragon Knight, Ardent Flame, Fiery Breath, Engulfing Flames. Reduce the flame damage taken on this morph to a maximum of 6%, down from 10%. The total sum of weapon and spell damage needed to reach the cap remains the same. So, that's just nerfing the damage of Mag DK a little bit, I guess. Makes sense, Mag DK has a lot of damage. Let's just carry on. Choking Talons, reduce the cost of this morph from 3 to 3,500, down from 4,000. Why? Okay. Hardened Armor, increase the damage shield granted from this morph by 24%. This sounds like a lot, but it will still disappear immediately in PvP. Don't really understand this. It's not like Dragon Knight's struggling with sustain right now. Whatever. Fragmented Shield, increase the duration of major mending granted from this morph to 6.667 seconds at base, up from 5 seconds. Don't worry though, it will reach a nice whole number when you have your Eternal Mountain passive maxed out. If I remember, the Eternal Mountain passive increases the duration of Earthen Heart abilities by 33%, so that means that major mending will equal 10 seconds, which is insane. That's an insane amount. Also makes no sense because, again, for sustain reasons, Dragon Knight was not suffering from sustain problems at all, and so increasing the duration of major mending that you get from Fragmented Shield, which is pretty much the only reason to run it, you are, reducing the amount of times you have to press it, and thus increasing the sustain of the character. So again, doesn't really make any sense. No major changes there for Dragon Knight. A little bit less damage, 4% from engulfing flames from flame damage. It's a decent amount actually, like quite a lot. But increases to their sustain, which kind of is a bit bizarre. Anyway, Necromancer. I have to disclaimer here, I know shit all about Necromancer. Never play it, barely remember the names of the skills, but at least I can kind of gauge a sort of idea about it. This morph now increases your health. Shocking Siphon, the Mystic Siphon morph. This morph now increases your health, magicka, and stamina recovery by up to 150 while it is active, rather than restoring up to 1,260 magicka over its duration. I don't know if this is a buff or a nerf to its magicka sustain. Usually in these kind of instances, it's a nerf when you are given recovery. However, it's also giving it stamina and magicka recovery, which is pretty important. 150 stamina recovery on a macro shouldn't go unnoticed. That's a lot. That's an extra dodge roll. That's extra whatever it is that you might need to do in your stamina. So that's pretty interesting. I can't tell you on the base whether that's a buff or a nerf to the magicka that it's giving. Probably a nerf though. Just at a guess. I don't know how long the ability lasts. Beckoning Armor. This morph now attempts to pull valid targets once every 2 seconds, up from once every 3. Okay, that's interesting. Bit more reliable as a stun maybe. Not a major change. Death Scythe, Ruinous Scythe morph. This morph now deals bleed damage rather than physical. Okay. This morph now applies the hemorrhaging status effects on damage dealt. That's interesting. If I remember correctly, hemorrhaging is bleed damage. And this is important because certain sets such as Dragon's Appetite proc off of bleed damage. And so you could run Dragon. This could mean, you know, Dragon's Appetite could become a strong set for Necromancer. It's already a strong set with any class with Master Dual Wield, but you might not have to run Master Dual Wield to run it. That's interesting. This morph now sets all enemies off balance on hit rather than every third cast. Okay, cool. Living Death Expunge Hexproof reduces the cost of this morph to 1,760 at its final rank, down from 1,880. Everyone knows that Necromancer was suffering with sustain issues. I don't understand this. Why are they... Sustain is the easiest it's ever been in the game right now. Why am I seeing so many reducing costs and helping sustain out things? I mean, I guess if this is a nerf, this one up here, then maybe it makes it better. I don't know. This morph now increases... Oh, the Restoring Siphon morph now increases your health, magic, and stamina recovery, so it's the same as the other one, by up to 150 while it is active, rather than restoring 1,260 stamina over its duration. So it's the same as the Shocking Siphon. Again, this one actually... This is interesting because stamina you don't get returned while you're blocking. So if you're blocking and you get a tick of stamina recovery, you don't get any stamina. It disables your stamina recovery when you're blocking. So for stamina, changing it so your stamina recovery is increased by 1 to 150 instead of just restoring stamina is worse than for Magicka. This is probably going to end up more of a nerf because of the amount that you block and might lose the stamina recovery ticks when you're in PvP or in a trial. Because when you have something like this where it's just restoring 1,260 stamina over its duration, you're always going to get the stamina back whether you're dodging, blocking, whatever, it doesn't matter. So that's definitely a nerf for stamina sustain. If that's a skill that's even used, because I don't fucking know anything about Necromancer. Tell me if that's someone who knows Necromancer, just tell me, alright? I am just the giver of information. I am the bringer of the message. I am the messenger. Alright, Nightblade Assassination, mark target, piercing mark, morph. Fix an issue where the heal from the... Okay, that's just bug fixes. Increase the duration of the effects to 60 seconds at rank 40, at rank 4, up from 30. Doesn't really matter. Doesn't really matter because, well, I don't know if it matters for PvE. Maybe that's substantial for PvE. It means you only have to press it once every minute instead of twice every minute. That could mean DPS if it's a skill that's even used in PvE. I'm not sure. For PvP, most fights aren't even going to end that long in open world. In BGs, you know, you're going to be targeting different people. It's kind of doesn't really mean anything. Teleport Strike, Ambush. Increase the duration of Empower granted from this morph to 10 seconds, up from 3. Holy shit. That could be big. This morph now also grants Minor Berserk for its duration. Wow. Okay. This seems like a minor change, but Empower is a really underrated buff. It increases your light attack damage by 40%, I think. That could be big in, well, it could be big in PvE. Not sure how Empower is granted as a buff in PvE. But in PvP, that could also make it into a viable skill, a more viable skill. That's really interesting. And also the Minor Berserk that it gives as well. I think Minor Berserk is 4% extra damage done, 5% extra damage done. Could be interesting. Shadow, Path of Darkness, Refreshing Path Morph. This morph now also grants minor endurance and intellect for 4 seconds each tick. Everyone knows that Nightblade's been suffering from sustain issues. Sarcasm alert, it's not been suffering from sustain issues at all. And so I don't really understand why they would grant the skill more sources of minor endurance and intellect. I don't know if this affects the people that are also in the Path of Darkness, in the Refreshing Path. I assume it does, in which case that makes Nightblade Healer in Battlegrounds even better. Nightblade Healer in Battlegrounds right now is really, really strong. By adding this in, it's just adding extra sustain to whatever group it's in. So yeah, that's not a skill that's used that much, but for organized groups could be quite substantial. For trials could be quite substantial. Yeah, interesting change. I doubt it will be used as much as other skills will be, but it makes it into a much better skill than it was. Veiled Strike, surprise attack, morph. Fix an issue where this morph had no. Okay, it's just a fix. Okay. Siphoning, drain power. Increase the duration of major brutality and sorcery granted from this ability and its morphs to 30 seconds, up from 20, to make up for the fact that they require a target to gain these effects. Why does it requiring a target mean it gains 10 extra seconds? Considering you're going to be in combat pressing it anyway when you need the buff, it kind of seems bizarre. It's not really a good reason. Power Extraction morph. This morph also now grants the caster minor courage for 30 seconds upon dealing damage. Minor courage, if I remember correctly, is about 150 weapon and spell damage. So that's pretty big. The duration I don't really get. There's not really a reason for that. It just feels like making it something you have to press less. But that it gives an extra 150 spell damage, weapon and spell damage, could be pretty big. Could make it more used in PvP and in PvE. That could be a significant DPS. I don't know. Time to find out. We've got a PTS for a reason. Soul Shred. Fixed an issue where this ability and its morphs could ignore line of sight in some cases. Alright, fixed numerous issues. Alright. Just fixing the game. As long as it works, I don't mind. Sorcerer. Now we're getting onto the alright, Sorcerer. Dark Magic, Crystal Shards, Crystal Fragments. This morph now activates off any non-ultimate active ability cast, rather than only magic costing abilities. So to carry on with the hybridization, that makes sense. Now that lots of orcs are hybridized, yeah, just makes sense. I don't see any problem with that, to be honest. Reduce the proc chance to 33%, down from 35%. This is disgusting! How could they ever do this? I'm joking, I don't know why they've done that, but obviously it's not going to be. I guess maybe to make it more... You know, it's definitely 1 in 3 skills now. 35% could end up being 1 in 2 skills. Maybe that's why. Crystal Weapon Morph. This morph now causes your next 2 light or heavy attacks to deal bonus damage, up from 1. There is a small cooldown on this to avoid the ability to instantly proc both though. Okay. Cool. Daedric Summoning. Summon Storm Atronach. I haven't really seen anything that's really mind-blowing yet. Nothing's been really crazy. Let's just carry on, I guess. Daedric Summoning. Summon Storm Atronach. Summon Charged Atronach Morph. This morph's area of effect damage now always applies the concuss status effects. Could be decent in Guild v Guild, maybe 12v12 stuff, to have a secure source of concussion of the concuss effect. Could be interesting. But again, not that crazy. Storm Calling, Boundless Storm. Fix an issue where this ability's visual effects. Okay, it's an issue. Mage's Fury, Endless Fury. Reduce the cost of this morph to 2,160, down from 2,430. To help reinforce the idea that you are able to cast it endlessly, or endlessly cast it. I mean, I hope they're joking there, because they shouldn't be basing balance changes around RP. I assume that's a joke. I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt and say it's a joke. But I don't get this. Like, sustain is unbelievable right now. You can sustain everything. It doesn't matter. Just like it's so easy to sustain right now compared to any other patch. It's really, really not difficult. Even on Templar, I don't have an issue, and that's the class that everyone for the last couple of patches has said has sustain issues. Now it just doesn't feel like it does anymore. It's really weird that they've made these changes. I mean, it's not much. It's 300 gone down, but it's still just like, why? Why would you do that? And if this is a gradual thing, if they keep doing this, it's just, there's no point in even having a resource bar, because you're going to be able to sustain it anyway. We've reached a point where you can be full damage, where you can wear only damage sets and be able to sustain really easily without having to invest into it barely any investment into the sustain at all. You know, all you have to do is have the Serpent Mundus or the Atronach Mundus, and that's it, you're sustaining. And so if they carry on making these gradual changes, it's just like, what's the point in having a Magicka or a stamina pool in the first place? What's the point in having this sort of, you know, as part of the core game mechanics? And I don't know if this path that they've gone down really makes sense, because it lowers the skill ceiling quite significantly. Imagine that most duels in the past and over the years, and the skill gap between duelists and just PvP in general is running your opponent out of sustain, running your opponent out of resources. And when you take that element of skill out of the game, you're drastically reducing the skill ceiling. And so if they keep making it easier and easier and easier to sustain, with increasing the duration of buffs, with reducing the cost of abilities, it's just gonna massively reduce the skill ceiling. And I never think that's a good idea in a MMO, because an MMO is typically a game that you put hours and hours and hours into, and it shouldn't. I think there needs to be, you know, a horizontal skill progression rather than a vertical one. Anyway, carry on. Overload. This morph now restores up to 1200 magicka and stamina rather than up to 1192 magicka. Although I've just moaned about sustain, I think this makes sense based on the hybridization stuff. Makes it more viable for stamina. The restore now happens anytime you use the light and heavy attacks rather than only when they deal damage. Now that's silly, because again, it's just making it easier to sustain. Like, why? Like, there's not really, no one complained about that. No one thought it was bad. It made sense, you know. Again, now when you're fighting a sorcerer 1v1, you know, one of the things you could do, avoid their overload, so you know they're not getting back magicka. All these kind of things, you know, all these little things add up and drastically reduce the skill ceiling. Surge. Fix an issue where the major sorcery granted from this ability was not ranking up in duration. Alright. Alright, Templar. Yes, my class. We're gonna go crazy here. Sunshield. Increase the radius of this morph to 8 meters up for... Okay, that's just RP. Backlash. Increase the cost of this ability and the Purifying Light morph to 2,160 up from 2,000. Okay. Yeah, fine. But not the Power of the Light morph. What? Why? Power of the Light morph. Reduce the cost of this morph to... But why? I mean, people say that Templar has had problems with sustain. But I don't think this patch it does really. I mean, maybe I'm biased. Maybe I've just played Templar for a long time. Maybe this is just like, of course I can sustain it. I've played it for so long. But I've had no problems with sustain on stamina Templar, unless I've personally messed up, which has happened. So I don't really get this. I mean, that's quite a lot as well. That's what, 350? And bearing in mind you're spamming that probably once every 6 seconds, 5 seconds. That's 350 extra stamina every 5 or 6 seconds. So that's quite a significant amount. Anyway, the thing I'm trying to get at is that although if you do have sustains on stamina, if you do have sustain issues on stamina Templar, I know that you can sustain stamina Templar. I know that there's a level at which you can sustain it, because even if I've messed up, I know other people can. And so I think there's a skill gap issue where if you're just going to make it that easy, like, what's the point? Anyway, once again, Eclipse, Living Dark. Please, Zenimax gods. This morph's heal no longer scales with stats and instead heals for a base of 2,000 health when it triggers. Get fucked. Get fucked. Thank you. Thank you. Unfucking believable. Thank you. Everyone, you can get off Templar now. No longer will you be carried by this fuck off skill. Get off my class. I don't need you anymore. Get off it. Back to Necro you go. Thank you. It only took 2 or 3 patches, but we're there. We're there. This is going to heal for what, like 900, 1000 in PvP now? It won't be worth running. Incredible. Incredible. Thank you. Thank you, Zenimax. Everyone's going to magically get off Templar now. Magically, they won't be on Templar anymore. Thank you. Nothing else to say. Thank you, Zenimax. That's a very good change. Drastic change and good. That's exactly what we wanted. Not for a base like Battle Spirit nerf, but for the individual culprits to be nerfed. Living Dark is too powerful. Nerf it. Although I did just think about the fact that you can get a burst heal from Necro like every 2 seconds at the moment, and they haven't adjusted that. Is that the core? Is that the one that heals you loads? Which is the one that heals you loads? Yeah, no, it wouldn't have. No, that's not the one that heals you. Yeah, and so they haven't done anything to that. So Necro still gets like an 8k burst heal every 2 seconds. It's whatever. One step forward. We've got that. We've got it under our. We've got it in our grip. Thank you, Zenimax. Solar Flare, Dark Flare Morph. Reduce the cost of this morph to 240. Okay, fair enough. Quite expensive to use as a spammable. I've tried a bit of range spell this patch, and it was quite expensive to use as a spammable, so don't mind that. It's not that much of a problem. Skill really doesn't hit that hard, so it's fine. Restoring Light, Rite of Passage. This morph now allows you to move at a reduced rate while channeling it rather than being unable to move at all. Holy shit, let's go! No, that's just RP really, isn't it? Won't really change anything. Not that good in PvP anyway. I wish they'd buffed the skill for PvP. You can pretty much out DPS people that are inside of it. You might as well use Restoration Ult, is what I'm trying to say. So I wish they'd make it rival the Restoration Staff Ultimate, is what I'm trying to say. Because right now, if you're picking between the two as a healer, there's no reason not to run the Restoration Staff Ultimate unless you just don't have it unlocked yet. Alright, Warden. Animal Companions, Feral Guardian, Wild Guardian Morph. This morph now deals 10% more damage, up from 5%, to ensure it deals similar damage to Eternal Guardian when you take the Piercing Magic passive. Interesting. Interesting. This morph now converts the damage to bleed damage instead of physical, and each attack applies the hemorrhaging status effects. Wild. Thank you for that little giggle there with the wild. Very funny. Again, interesting because it makes... So, Bleed Den is already a very strong spec for Warden right now. Bleed Den is essentially where you use like a Master Dual Wield or anything that procs a bleed effect, and then you use Dragon's Appetite with it or Drogokin with it. That's already really, really strong, but you have to run like an arena weapon with it. This would mean that you wouldn't have to run an arena weapon for it to proc, which is very interesting. Very interesting. Scorch, Deep Fissure. This morph now also applies minor breach to enemies hit for the duration. Now that's good. Why? Because it means that you're going to just be hitting more damage as a Magden. Taking the Deep Fissure morph will be just more damage. So that's good. That's what minor breach is. What nearly it's like 2.9k penetration. So that's big. That's pretty big. Not crazy, but decent. That's, you know, an extra 4 or 5% damage. Corrupting Polymorph. This morph now applies minor cowardice to enemies in the area to help it gain some viability in PvE areas. I forget what minor cowardice is. Is it the one that reduces the other enemies? I'm going to look it up. I'm looking it up. Hope I haven't doxed myself with that. I don't think I have. If an enemy is hit, you apply minor cowardice to them, reducing their weapon and spell damage by 215. Wow. That's a lot. It says it's to help it gain viability. Does it have to... It's just any enemy. It doesn't have to be a PvE enemy. That's a lot. That's a lot. Reducing your enemy's weapon and spell damage Consider what that means, because it means it's reducing their healing as well as their damage. It makes you more tanky through the fact that they will have reduced damage, but it's also reducing their healing significantly, so that when you burst, there's less likely. So that's actually very decent. I'm interested to see if that will be used. Arctic Wind. Arctic Blast. Hello. This morph now requires enemies to be damaged. No way. Why? Reduce the duration of the stun. Doesn't really mean anything. Increase the duration of the stat counter to 3 seconds, up from 1. Why? Right now, this ability is offering too much offensive nature for the Warden, allowing them to line up their burst. No, they've nerfed Magden. They nerfed Magden. Magden was too OP. They had to nerf it. No way have they done this. Holy fuck. It's the worst spec in the whole game by so far. Magden is the only class that's just fully not viable at the moment. It's so bad. And now they're saying it's got too much damage? Too much offensive nature? The fuck are you talking about? By increasing the stat count required, there should be less of a guarantee with this combination and require more reactive play from the caster, while the increased duration of tracking helps also reduce the ease of... What? Why? What? Why? Increasing the stat count required, there should be less of a guarantee with this combination and require more reactive play from the caster. And the increased duration of this tracking helps also reduce the ease of counterplay. But this makes no sense. They said it's got no counterplay before, but now they're saying we need to reduce the ease of counterplay here by increasing the... I get why they've increased the duration of the stat counter because of that. But realistically, it's still not gonna... You're not gonna stun anyone with Arctic Blast reliably enough for it to be worth it. In fact, the skill doesn't even last. It lasts 5 ticks, so you'd have to do it twice in most cases for even to get a stun. But the fact of the matter is that the counterplay before was to move away from the blast so that you didn't get hit, or also to stun them before their stun goes off on you so that they aren't able to get their DB off or whatever it is that they're playing with. There was a counterplay and that was it. Or just make it blockable. I'm not really a fan of, unblockable CCs anyway, but that's just bizarre. Really bizarre. No reason for it, and no other change considering this heal is just useless in PvP at the moment. Good in PvE, I guess, but you don't need the stuns in PvE. But in PvP, it's complete trash. You get 50k health and get like a 5k heal from it. It's useless. So that's really bizarre. I guess no one will run it next patch. There's no reason to. Like, it's just not even a reliable stun anymore. Really strange. Why? Absolutely why? Crystallized Shield. The Crystallized Slab morph. This morph now so stuns targets upon dealing damage. That's interesting. For the Masters of Ice, Wardens are lacking a lot of hard control. You just took more of it away. This makes no sense. This is really like counterintuitive to everything. Or every single sentence in this is the opposite of what the sentence before it said. This is really bizarre. Without giving them something too over the top to make them even more oppressive to melee attackers, we've opted to add in a reactive range stun option to help deter those range builds that naturally kite and hound Wardens. Okay. Okay. Sure. Still don't see it being used because we're going to need... I don't see it being used because... It's not going to be reliable enough to stun the person that you need to stun. It's not going to stun melee players at all, or anyone close to you at all. It's only going to stun the sniper at the back of you. And so as a stun, it's completely I mean, it will take some pressure off, I guess. If you happen to have a spare slot, this is decent, but I don't think you will have a spare slot because of the fact you're gonna need slot burst heal and all that kind of thing now. Frost Armor expands the radius of this morph to 36 meters up from 28. Okay. Northern Storm. This morph now grants 300 weapon and spell damage for up to 30 seconds after casting, rather than up to 15% max magicka. This is big. This is really big. Why? Because 15% max magicka is nothing right now, considering that the way that you build on most classes now, you barely reach above 25k magicka. That's just how it is now. That's just the meta. And so 15% max magicka is barely any damage. And it's just kind of not useful. So 300 weapon and spell damage for up to 30 seconds. That's a lot. That's really a lot. That's healing as well, remember. That's interesting. That's really interesting. Most people use Dawnbreaker at the moment. It'll be interesting to see if people go back to Northern Storm with this. Although Northern Storm you're still able to kite quite easily, so yeah, but for interesting change. I'm excited to try Warden with these changes, actually. I think the sort of Arctic Blast is useless now. Absolutely useless. There's no excuse to... There's no reason to use it, I don't think. And so you should... it will lead to a bit more build diversity, maybe. Or, we won't know the meta for Warden yet. It's going to take a patch to know what's best on it. Yeah. Right, that was all the classes. Now, that wasn't anything crazy. I think the biggest change for me over the classes is the Living Dark nerf. I would have liked to see the Necromancer get nerfed a bit, as in the tether thing that heals them loads. But whatever. Onto the weapons. Two-hander reverse slice. This morph no longer deals damage based on its initial hit, and instead deals damage to all targets around the initial. Okay, so it's just equal damage to everyone. Could be interesting in an AoE build. Could be really interesting in an AoE build. In a bomber, maybe you could run two-handed bombers. Yeah, interesting. One-handed shield. Defensive posture. Fixed an issue. Power bash. This morph's passive resentment now reduces the cost of your next power slam by up to 50%, rather than increasing its damage by 33%. Don't really see the point in that. Again, for the reasons of sustain isn't a problem right now. They should be making it, they should be making it harder, or at least just keeping it and changing other things around it. Damage is needed at the moment because people are clutching on low health with massive healing and Vampire Stage 3 and all that kind of thing. So the 33% damage is big. Don't like that change. I don't like that change at all. I don't really see why. Heavy armor. Adjusted the bonus damage to bash attacks to grant 30 more damage per piece of heavy armor worn rather than 3% more damage. Don't know if this will equal a nerf or a buff. Usually flat damage values like this end up being a buff. So probably a buff. Guess good. I guess that's good. Makes sense. Vampire Blood Frenzy. This ability and its morphs now grant up to 5 stacks rather than 10 the total weapon. I can't remember what happened to it in the last patch to make it not viable. I can't remember exactly what the skill does. But this ability and its morphs now grant up to 5 stacks rather than 10. But the total weapon and spell damage granted is left untouched, so you get the stacks quicker. Right, I understand. So you get more weapon and spell damage per stack, and you get them within 5 seconds rather than 10 seconds, or however long it should take. It's 360 per tick instead of 250 weapon and spell. Oh, the cost, now that's the cost, 360, okay. So the cost has gone up, but the impact of it, you get it quicker, okay. That's based on initial feedback, so it'll be viable again for ganking, I guess. Feed. This synergy now heals you to full health after successfully casting on a target and feasts you upon their life essence. Delicious. Really... okay, cool. Vampiric Drain. Fix an issue where this ability and its morphs could be reflected despite being beamed. Stop draining yourself. Okay. And nothing else. No Vampire Stage 3 nerf. Still. No Vampire Stage 3 nerf. Everyone runs Vampire Stage 3, no matter what. I don't care if you are watching this and you are saying, but you take more flame damage as Vampire, so it's balanced. No, it is not. You cannot comprehend, if that is your opinion, how much mitigation Vampire Stage 3 gives you. Everyone in PvP runs it. It doesn't matter about the sustain. It doesn't matter about any of the drawbacks, because Vampire Stage 3 is so fucking good. It's so ridiculously overpowered. They need to nerf this immediately, but they won't. Why? Because role players think that Vampire has been nerfed constantly since they changed it in Greymore. Who gives a fuck? So, what's been nerfed from it? Where is it not useful? Everyone's Vampire everywhere. Fuck me, man. What's your... Why? I see forum posts all the time about how just... You know what they need to do, which would settle all of the arguments, all of them? Turn Vampire into a whole separate thing. Don't make it into a... You're a normal player, but you're also a vampire. Make it its only thing, like a werewolf is. That way the role players will be happy, the PvPers will be happy because they won't have to be vampire unless they want to mess around as a vampire. It will just fix so many things. But the undeath passive needs to change immediately. It is ridiculous. And also fix Mistform. Where's the Mistform fix? Where is it? 2 years this bug has existed. 2 fucking years. I don't know if it, like, they've got fixed issue things for other skills up here. So I assume if it was going to be fixed this patch, it would be here, but it's not. Where is it? God damn it. All right, that's pissed me off. That's lowered my final opinion of what I'm going to give for these patch notes. Werewolf, first thing's bounty. This morph now grants minor endurance and fortitude for 20 seconds after casting, rather than a unique amount of health and stamina recovery based on... Okay. I've never played Werewolf. I have no fucking clue what that is. This morph now also reduces the ability costs. I assume this is supposed to be the other way around, but okay. Increase the duration of major berserk and damage taken to 10 seconds up from 6. Okie dokie. Fix an issue where this morph for silver shards, sorry, we're going on to silver shards. Fix an issue where this morph could sometimes fail to be recognised as a stamina costing ability for certain proc conditions. Fine. Fix an issue. Okay, so if Mistform was going to be fixed, it should have been there. Fix an issue, don't really care. Okay, champion points. Added the following stars to the extended might constellation. Exploiter increases your damage done against off-balance enemies by 2% per stage, so up to 10%. Okay. Force of Nature increases your offensive penetration by 900 for each status effect your target has. One stage, 50 points. So it only goes up to 900. Oh, for each status effect. So you can have 5 status effects and have 4,500. Okay, could be big for DPS. I don't see it being that useful in PvP. I don't think it will equal the other damage tree nodes, or you'd rather opt for like a defensive node instead. We're adding these nodes to help out 2 areas of feedback that are frequently brought up. Off balance, lacking oomph in organised groups as an impactful... Who's ever... Do I not... Who? Where? Has anyone talked about... I've never heard of this. I think... Maybe I have. Maybe I'm lying. I think I have heard some stuff about off balance, but it's not like a thing that people have been crying out for, is it? I mean, anyway, it can't have taken much to implement it, so... And a form of accessible penetration outside of item sets. The penetration one sounds good for DPS, I guess. I don't really know. I don't really know. Rebalance the numbers and progression for a number of nodes. The following nodes now grant 3% for their listed bonuses stage with 2 stages rather than... Okay, so it's going to grant 6% at max. So it's nerfing the damage ones and nerfing the mitigation ones here. Wow, okay. So all the major mitigation and damage CP nodes that everyone uses are being changed to 6%. Are any of these the healing ones? Is Unassailable a healing one? which one's unassailable? That's that area of, which one's enduring resolve? None of these are the healing ones. None of these are the healing ones. Wow, okay. So they're nerfing the damage and the mitigation, but they're not nerfing the healing. Okay. There's also a case to say, someone correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but there is a case that the offensive percentage is less valuable than the defensive percentage because you have access to more percentage damage increase. What's it called? You have more access to more damage increasing things rather than defensive increasing things, modifiers, that's the word I'm looking for. And so a defensive modifier in the CP is more valuable than an offensive modifier in a lot of cases, I believe. I may be wrong about that. Although I guess defensive has minor protection, a few other things, and maybe it will balance out actually. Maybe it will balance out. Yeah, I think it would balance out now I'm thinking about it a bit more. Anyway. Backstabber, this node now grants 2% critical damage per stage down from 3%, okay. This node now scales have your higher, okay, that's interesting. That's interesting. For certain builds, for like a bleed den, that's interesting. Because you would reach the health that you would need for it to scale properly, whereas you won't reach the physical and spell resistance that you would need. If that makes, yeah. Fighting Finesse, this node now grants 4% critical damage and healing per stage, rather than 2%. Right, so okay, so it's 8% down from 10%. Critical damage and healing. Does anyone use? I use that. I guess that's increasing your crit damage against players a bit, but it sucks that the healing's lumped in with that. So it's still going to be a more powerful node. That makes sense because it's reliant on having crit damage. Yeah. Occult Overload. This node now deals... no one uses that. This node now increases the damage done of your next direct damage attack by 33%. Wow. How does that work? What's the Riposte Node? Is this the one where after you... yeah, I'm not going to be able to find it. Aha, here it is. When you block an attack from an enemy within 7 meters, you deal... Okay! This could be big. If you imagine... Okay. So that's probably also why they changed the Power Slam as well. So I take back what I said there. But if you had Power Slam with that plus the 33% extra damage from the Power Slam attack, you would have like an insane modifier on Power Slam, be able to pull off like insane amounts of damage with it. So that makes sense. But this is interesting. This is still interesting. 33% is no small feat, but it is only on one out of the... You know, that's the same as like a follow-up on a two-handed passive, so I'm not sure. I still don't think anyone will use it. It could... I wonder if there's some tank and spank build that will exist with it. Wrathful Strikes and Rejuvenated. These nodes now grant 41 in spell damage to their effects, up from 33. Okay, that's nice. I still don't think it will be useful, but fuck it. Yeah, this makes sense. I'd never understood why ones with conditions, such as it having to be critical damage, were as powerful as their, like, deadly aim counterparts, you know? If the ones that have a proc condition, that have a condition like having to make the enemy off balance, should in theory be stronger than the ones that just give it to all of your direct damage, because it requires creating a condition for them to take that damage. So that makes sense. And I think that's all of the combat major... Oh, but you have items and item sets. Oh my god. This is my longest video yet where it's just me on my own. Items that belong to the Night Brothers Embrace set have been... Okay, whatever. Whatever. Fix an issue. Okay, here we go. Draw Gikin. This set now increases all of your damage done by 330 and reduces your healing taken by 10%. What? Wow, okay. Rather than causing your direct damage attacks to cause enemies to take 670. This is... I like that they attempted to change Draw Gikin, but this is bad because this set exists... which it does the same, pretty much. A little bit less damage, but you also get healed. So it's just like a worse version of Dragon's Appetite. I mean, it's 100 more damage per tick, but reducing your healing by 10% is a lot. Maybe will still be useful in duels, but again, at that point, I would just use Dragon's Appetite, surely. So I don't really understand that. It needed to be changed, but I'm not reading all that, but thank you for giving me some context. This sets visual effects. Okay, visual effects. This causes you to dodge all attacks made against you the next time you would have been hit for 1 second rather than only one attack. Wait, what? This set now causes you to dodge all attacks made against you the next time you would have been hit for 1 second. Am I the only one that can't read? This set now causes you to dodge all attacks made against you the next time you would have been hit for 1 second. Oh, you dodge all attacks for 1 second instead of just one attack. Okay, that makes sense. They could have just written that. You just dodge all attacks for 1 second rather than just one attack. Okay. This set now... Okay, that's fixed. This is Master Lock. This set now dynamically scale rather than only your weapon damage. Okay. This damage set now increases by 10% per negative effect up from 2%. But has a cap of 300% rather than no cap. Wow, that could be big in PvP specifically. Because every negative effect, you know, if you have 5 it doesn't, the cap, you're not going to reach the cap. That means you'd have to have 30 negative effects on someone. But say you have 4 status effects on someone, that's 40% rather than 8%. But it's the damage only from the set, it's not all of your damage, so Master Lock still might not hit for anything. Interesting to test on the PTS though, I think that would be very interesting to test on the PTS. Tremor Scale, increase the duration of this set's effects to 15 seconds up from 8, okay. Increase the cooldown to 10%, okay. Increase the damage done by approximately 4%, okay. This set now reduces the armor of the enemy by 8% of the higher of your physical and spell resistance. Okay, interesting, just still don't think it'll be used. This set now applies a tether to the target that damages all enemies touching it, so it's like Vatishram rather than a single target thing. But it's reduced the base damage by approximately 50%, thank God! Thank you! Increase the duration of the set, increase the cooldown. Procs burning was going to proc burning either way, no matter what. It requires a critical light or heavy attack rather than just a light or heavy attack. Thank you! Wow! It will possibly be used in PvE still now, but for PvP the problem... I still was annoyed with Zarm because you could use it to XV1 people so easily and so strong. It was bad if you were using it yourself as like, if you were playing outnumbered, but for people that just want to 5v1 everyone down all the time, it was unreal. So that's good. But it's still going to be useful for PvE. Mythic Items. Reduce the duration of the stacks of Harpooner's Wading Kilt from 10 seconds down from a minute to 10 seconds down from a minute. Wow. Reduce the critical chance granted per stack to 1. Okay, so a lot less crit chance with that. Okay, don't know what that will mean for PvE. It's not as used anymore, but it's interesting. Shadow Dancer for this set now causes you to dodge all incoming attacks within 1 second after leaving stealth. Okay, it still won't be used, apart from for RP reasons. And Hrothgar's, who's even using it? No one's using that. Okay, these are all just issue fixes. I think that's it. I think this is the longest video I've ever done. I've just been talking. I don't think I'll even edit it. So well done if you've got to the end of this. What's my take on it? I don't think they've done enough to tackle the issues that they created in the last patch. I was hoping for something extreme to happen in the patch notes, because in the past they've done like something extreme in the patch notes in the first week and then tuned it down to be releasable somewhat by the end of it. Whereas this, it just feels like they're not trying to do anything. They're just like, yeah, we're keeping it how it is. Apart from the Living Dark change, there's been no addressing of the healing issues that are in the game right now. Cross healing is they've not said anything about cross healing, which is just ridiculous. I only just realized restoration stuff isn't even in the patch notes. You know, everyone's been talking about radiating regen across YouTube, everywhere, across all the discords. Everyone's fed up of it, and there's been nothing said about it. No addressing the cross healing and how strong that is. No addressing Vampire Stage 3. I don't know. Some things are good in the patch, but overall they're not really changing enough for it to be to fix the issues that last patch created, to address the issues that last patch created, which is a situation where everyone has insane amounts of sustain, insane amounts of healing, and insane amounts of damage, and insane amounts of mitigation, which drastically reduces the skill ceiling to a point that you don't have to think about anything. So, I don't know. I think it's just going to be more of the same, to be honest. Everyone will get off Templar now that Living Dark isn't carrying them. Thank you for that. But other than that, I don't think much will change. I don't see the meta changing drastically. I haven't had a proper look at the new mythics yet. So, this week I'll be on the PTS when I'm streaming. So, come and catch me there. Other than that, I think that's the end of the video. Underwhelming. I thought I would have more to say, to be honest, and I'm sorry I feel like I haven't added enough for it to be worth it. Maybe as we go down the PTS and we find things that are broken, find things that work, find things that don't, it will be more fruitful. But for now, it's just like, what an underwhelming patch balance-wise. Very sad. Sad is the word. Just thought there would be a bit more meeting in the middle, you know, a bit more, guys, we don't like a lot of what this happened this patch with everyone being so tanky and all these problems, and they've said nothing, so yeah. Oh well, see you in the next one. Like and subscribe, please. Please, I need you to like and subscribe, please. I'm begging you.